What's good, people? I figure I'd try this mobile streaming just to see what happens here. Just testing it out. All right, what I've been up to lately. I've been sitting around. This is kind of impromptu, but what I've been doing is sitting around reading that report, the 2024 Diverting Hate report. I have the other two reports from the previous years, but I've been focusing on the 2024 report because this report, as I thumb through the other ones, it kind of names names. This is them declaring war on the space. All right. So for them, this is their declaration. And I think brothers need to be weary of what's going on because it may not seem that serious on the surface. And just like feminism, people disregarded it and pushed it to the side. But what ended up happening is it kind of snuck up on the men of the time. Now, now that I have your attention, you need to make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. Because if they're going at it at this level, you can only imagine how much worse it's going to be. What else are they going to do? If they're willing to lie and go this far to publish these reports and push it on to politicians, what else are they going to do? If this is not a sign that folks are willing to censor any man on this space, it doesn't matter if you're MTR or you're Abin preaching. I'm gonna get to them in a minute. It doesn't matter. They're painting everybody with the same broad brushstrokes and trying to make us all look bad so that anything that a man says on the internet when expressing his grievances with what's going on in society, it's not going to matter. It's going to get swept under the rug like it always has been. Shut up. And like as in Mr. Z, as he quoted from the what was it, that one podcast, protect, provide, and shut up. And that's pretty much what they're trying to do. If you read this report, I don't have it in front of me. I can pull it up here in a second. But as I was going through this report, I noticed there's a lot of run-on statements. They're trying to conflate so many different issues together. And yes, I do owe y'all a live stream of my own personal analysis. And shout out to Machismo TV, all the brothers that was on that panel this past Saturday. I'm mad I missed it. I guess I went to sleep. I did a bunch of yard work, so I was dog tired. But it was kind of impromptu as well, where they jumped up and they did a panel, and they were discussing this thing, and they did a whole different analysis. What I like to do is do like one of my favorite TV shows. You had Lester Freeman, right? The lead detective, one of the lead detectives, right? And what he did was one of his famous quotes was like he followed, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. He echoed that quite a bit during The Wire. And that's one of my favorite TV shows. Because everything in The Wire, what made it so great is that it can be related to real life. So when you start to follow the money and what these folks are doing, you start to see what the overall picture is. And as men in this space, regardless of what anybody thinks about this space, when you zoom out, we're actually looking at the bigger picture. People can take shots at us, critique what we're doing in this space. Some of the sensationalized channels, Fresh and Fit, Obsidian, and all these other folks, and what they've done to the space, they actually did a lot of damage to our reputation. And I'm gonna cover that here in a minute. When you take that away, the overwhelming majority, I'm sorry, I'm tired, of what we're doing here in this space is positive. Yeah, we're analyzing dating, mating, and relationships. We're also putting out information out there so that brothers in this space can protect themselves and move forward. There's a lot of guys in this space that have information to offer as far as improving your self-improvement, health, wealth, and mental health care. And that's what it's really all about. Those are the basic things that outline this space. And yes, men ultimately want families, and we have to discuss the women that are around us and what we're willing to do and what and willing and not willing to tolerate. And that's where we get our most pushback, is that we're outlining to young men, don't make these mistakes with these terrible ass women or these garbage folks that's out here on the dating market, because they will set you back quite a bit. I didn't learn this until I had already been in a 16-year marriage. The manosphere comes along. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know how to protect myself, and I suffered the consequence. And I think that's what a lot of people are, they're up in arms about, because now we're pointing out how not to set young men back. They have a problem with it. You tell women all the time to protect themselves. You tell them not to do this, not to do that, not to, and they do it anyway. But when we tell men not to do certain things, they actually freaking do it. That's why the economy is slowing up. That's why some of these businesses have gone out of business. Look at David's Bridal. Look at Zales. Look at all the jewelry sales. 20 years ago, men would rush up to the jewelry store and buy all these different things for women, trying to impress folks, taking them out on these lavish dinners, trips, and stuff like that. And then comes the manosphere. Oh, no, homie. Do not do that, because you're not getting anything in return. Don't do this because you're just being used. And now it's a problem. And this report shows it. They even like, I don't know if they realize this, because you get some really super smart, dumb people out there. You do. So they're so quick to point out what we're saying about everybody, but they're not looking at how the information is being applied. So when we tell men to protect themselves, they look at it as a negative. There are men out here starting shotguns because of failed relationships. And the one thing we've armed young men with is the tools to deal with what's going on in life, so they don't end up in this pit of despair. If certain folks aren't showing you attention, just move on. Don't chase them. Don't feel like you're beholden to that person because they showed you a little attention, because that's what con artists do. And if you ask me, modern ladies are nothing more than con artists. You had this one Asian chick who said she didn't pay for food for a whole year just by going out on dates. So for at least one meal per day, she was saving a ton of money by going out on dates with people she weren't even interested in. What even interested in? Now, if you can't see how, as a man, that will make you feel, I don't know what to tell you. I would feel terrible if all this person did was use me just for a dinner date. Didn't think anything of me. I'm generally interested in this person, and you don't respect me enough not to tell me if you like me or not. That's what y'all dealing with. Kevin Samuels told y'all years ago, winter is coming, and it's finally arrived. Now the people who used to line their coffers with the money that men would spend on all these dates, gifts, and the economy in general, that shit's over with. Dudes is not going for that anymore, because of the information this space is offered. But I digress. Going back into this report, they tried to hit us with every damn thing in the book. Hang on, you got an ambulance riding by. I'm currently sitting out of the laundromat, because I do have a front load washer and dryer, but I'm not about to damage my shit trying to put these big ass comforters in there. So you got to bear with me. So what they've done is they've conflated a bunch of information to get funding. Most of their reports, from what I can tell, has been written by AI. A lot of these sentences do not make sense. If you use AI, you know you got to double back You always have to double back and check the information of what's being written. You can't just publish this. And I doubt that they went through with a fine tooth comb. And you do that to make your reports make sense. I use AI all the time to research things. Like I may not know where to find certain information, so I'll punch it into AI. It gives me a bunch of references, and I can go from there. But these people right here, they didn't do any of that. I write everything myself when it comes to like blog posts, comments, and stuff like that. I don't use AI. And the fact that these college degree educated people didn't think of you all, who they put the information out to, enough to make sure the information was coherent, just baffles me. It just shows that they're only here to make a buck, and that's it. They want to put out this report, get their funding, and if we don't stop them, they'll continue to get more and more funding and gain influence. In a couple of the pages of this report, they go to a website called incel.is. Now, this website I've never heard of other than this report. So when they come through and start pulling posts that they use their software and internet spiders, bots, or whatever, to search for keywords, they didn't actually go through and read the whole context of the conversation, but all they did was use a bot to look up certain keywords, certain what they say, not key performance indicators, but certain keywords that would trigger their software and try to equate that to what's going on in the manosphere and what we're talking about. So on one hand, you got the topics and subjects we're talking about, and then they got their own ideas of what they think we're talking about, and they'll program their bots to look for those keywords that they know instead of watching our content. And that bot comes through and plucks out the worst of the information that we have to say, even if it's out of context. And then they try to say that words are violence. Since when? Since when? Because if that's the case, every person who's ever ran their mouth and got punched in it for running their mouth is justified if words are violent. They're accusing us of online and offline violence based on what we're saying. And all we're doing is talking about the data and statistics. And every time a video comes out, we use that video to highlight what's going on in modern society. We do it all the time. Case in point, they say men are dangerous, then we'll turn around and show them examples that show that women are dangerous, especially when it comes to children. One live stream I watched was talking about the lady who deleted her boyfriend, who was the mother of her children, and then tossed her kids out on the highway at whatever speed it was, and then she crashed into a tree. One of those children didn't survive. So you tell me, who's the most dangerous? That was 3 lives lost because of one woman. And every now and then you get a dude that'll wild out and do something to a woman. But when it comes to children and people in relationships amongst black folks, women are just as capable as men are. So y'all can miss us with the bullshit. And this permeates throughout the entire document. They talk about all this violence, all this violence. Name me a YouTuber who advocates for violence. I'll wait. I haven't seen it. A lot of those people that used to talk about violence and racism and this, that, and the third, and actually be racist when talking about it, they're off YouTube. Those platforms got swept a long time ago. But what the manosphere does is we highlight everything that's going on and we back it up with the data, statistics, and science. Another theme you'll find in this report is that they're mad about the research that we interpret. Because you have a PhD and I don't, means that I'm not allowed to read the data for myself and interpret it. And that's what they're saying. They're pissed off because the manosphere is taking the same research that other folks have done that highlights the intricacies of what's going on in our society. And we're pointing out the obvious. You know, the lowest form of government in the states happens to be your family. So if we start there at the beginning, at the bottom, at the bare bones, you begin to understand that, hey, if the families aren't intact, you can't possibly govern or get a good foundation for governance. So whoever is in office now is there by design. So you tell me, am I crazy? Am I not speaking some actual facts? So what the manosphere is trying to do is fix the family, or we don't want anything to do with it at all. That's why SBM exists. Either we're going to get something out of this, or we're just going to walk away from completely. We've had over 50 years of men being demonized, denigrated, and drugged through the mud. And now all of a sudden you get 10 years of manosphere and you can't handle it. It's like that child who's been given everything all their lives, and all of a sudden somebody says no to them, and now they throw a fit. If you look at the staff of these people from Diverting Hate, it's on LinkedIn. And shout out the contractor for acknowledging that point, because I brought it up to him. We had a conversation. All that stuff is on LinkedIn. They have posts about the articles that they support on LinkedIn. They used to have links to every report that they did on LinkedIn, but after they got all the backlash and they don't want it to reach their donors or the people that's giving them money, they pull those reports down. You can still find last year's because they don't name names. And the one that, well, last year, September, and you can find March of last year. They're still up there. And all the articles they supported since then. See, they did this and took down their Twitter and a lot of their socials to try to hide from folks because they don't want to answer any questions about what they're doing. Because what they're doing is not ethical. It's not at all. They're borderline running. They are tiptoeing the line between campaign fraud, between the government officials they've been talking with, between the different government entities they're trying to enlist for their help. There's a whole bunch of campaign violations, ethics violations, policy violations. And I see them all. It is illegal. See, one of the things I talked to contractor about was that in order to get a politician's attention, you have to lobby them for your cause, which means you got to contribute to their campaign. You have to do something or promise something so you can get an audience with them. And normally it's campaign funds. So what did they do to get the attention of the politicians they're trying to get to rewrite policy? They gave up some money somewhere to somebody's campaign. And in federal law, it is illegal to use public money for campaigns. The very same thing. And if you look at this article, they talk a lot of shit about right wing. So that lets me know that they are leftists. So what the leftists are doing right now to Donald Trump is the same thing that they're guilty of. So everything they're speaking right now lets me know that it's all projection. But anyway, when I'm done with this video, if you're catching it on the replay, I'm going to put a link to one of my Google accounts with the Google Drive, so you can read the report for yourself and see how ridiculous it is. Because we know how this is going to get applied. First, they're going to come after black men and black men's spaces. That's why MTR is on the list. That's why he's on the list. A lot of these people have been in the space longer than MTR. And he's the tamest, and it's not a diss to him. He is the tamest of all the people on that list as far as his viewpoints, because all he does is react to videos and give his opinion about what's going on. And he got labeled in it. But yeah, you're going to see a whole lot in that document, and you're going to be like, what the hell? This is just a money grab, false flagging, and everything else. So as this video goes on, let me move into the next section. What I want to tell brothers to do, if you are monetized, I am not, so I was trying to find all the information I could. Some things I can't see because I don't have a monetized channel here on YouTube. So brothers got to protect themselves against the BS. One of the tactics they outlined in this article was running ads. They run ads on Google, but they failed to say how they were running the ads. So well, everywhere they're running ads rather. So if you're on YouTube and you have an AdSense account, you should be able to go in and look at who's running ads on your channel. You can also block people from running certain ads, which means that you can go in there, type in some keywords here and there. There are a bunch of YouTube videos that go into in depth about how to get that done, and then start blocking these people. Anything dealing with bullying, hatred, and any type of .org or whatever. Yeah, it's going to cut into your AdSense revenue money, because if you're not running those types of ads, or you're not running the no more ads you get ran on your channel, the more money you make. But as I always say, and I got this from older heads, like all money ain't good money when playing dominoes. So take a moral stand on this one. They want to attack us based on our morals. Take a moral stand on this and go through and set up certain keywords. Look at Diverting Hate's document, pull out all the keywords, any organization that they list in their document, and block every last one of them. You will by default make their ad campaigns irrelevant, and they will waste their money. But they got to answer for what they say in their document, because one of the things they say was that they have to evaluate the effectiveness, or they don't know how effective their ads are. But I'm not going to give them an inch. I'll give them no quarter as far as my channel goes if I were monetized. And you can block them from there. One of the things that we got to get used to in this space is being proactive about what you're doing. See, the way our society is, it coddles women. We live in a matriarchy. Shout out to Edward Anderson. We live in a matriarchy, goddammit. I would love to have that soundbite. But since we live in a matriarchy, anything said or any critique of women anywhere on the internet is seen as negative, even if it's for their own good. You can say something so simple as don't have a bunch of babies by different dudes because it's going to make it hard on your life, and they will argue against that until the day they die. And then you have women who don't have any children argue against that advice as well. When we can clearly see the results of the fatherless generation. Shout out to fatherlessgeneration.org. Go ahead and check that space out, because they have a lot of the statistics we quote here in this space. All you got to do is Google search the fatherless generation, and it will give you a bunch of studies. Some of them are old, some of them are newer, and they're always constantly updating those. So you'll be armed with the statistics, the same ones they accuse us of misusing. And that's all it is. They're trying to use their degree and their credentials to discredit everybody in this space for doing what we're doing. You don't need a degree to read the news. And that's all it is. It's just news. All right, third thing on my list before I close this out is that if you go to the LinkedIn page, you can look up everybody on there and then do a Google search on every name on there. You'll come up with documents, publications that they've written or been authors of, because a lot of them, they do research and they also author some stuff. When you find out who these people really are, and there's a small video, I got to link that in the description as well, that they did, and I believe they just placed it on YouTube so that they can run this on their websites. So basically, they put it on YouTube so they can get some searches generated there. It only had like 12 views on it, so it was poorly uploaded, because I don't have a video. I got videos from months ago that have more views than this video, and this thing is 2 years old. So they didn't do their optimization on it, if you will. But I believe they have that video embedded on their website. So every time you go to their website, the video plays. It may not necessarily count for views on YouTube. You know, that again, the algorithm is very complicated and how they count and maintain everything. But it is a bunch of them folks from the same folks with the LinkedIn profile who are doing a video talking about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I want to say 2 out of the 3 guys that's on there appear to be part of the rainbow community. Okay. And we've had a big problem in this space about dudes from the rainbow community straight jacking, straight coming in and trying to tell single heterosexual men how to talk to women when they don't even deal with women. Crazy, right? But y'all have got to read this report. I can't stress it enough. You got to read it, because it's one thing. I don't believe anybody should be censored. I'll listen to anybody. And I often do, so I can get their perspective. I have my own beliefs, my own morals, my own values, but I'm willing to hear people out and give them the benefit of the doubt until I see otherwise. There's only one person that I know of that I couldn't stand and I couldn't bear to listen to, because it was the same thing over and over, and they are pure evil, and that was the Synthetic G. And you can see she's off YouTube. Or so you think. She's still on YouTube. She says has a way of posting her videos on YouTube, and they're unlisted. You would have to go to her Patreon, subscribe to get the unlocked access, the URL address to her videos on YouTube. That's her backup plan. And that's the only way she's getting money. But yeah, please read this report, because as you get through this report, you start to see that they're not just tossing the 11 channels that they feature in the beginning under the bus. They go on to say that the manosphere is responsible for teen steroid use, teen pedoism, to begin with, violence on and offline. They're trying to credit us with every act of violence by a freaking incel who are not part of the space. They have their own thing. They stay in their own lane. They don't bother anybody. They just talk amongst themselves online, and yet you're trying to say that those people are violent. There's crazy people all the time and throughout society. There's nothing we can do about it. At one point in the US, they had mental institutions that they used to send people for schizophrenia. You know what I mean? So what do you do about that? What do you do about it? It's like it wasn't until the Reagan era they did away with all these mental institutions, because what they did was they housed them people until they basically died. Because they were crazy, they weren't allowed to pollute the gene pool. But when all that went away, you got a bunch of schizophrenics, you got a bunch of narcissists, you got a bunch of people with mental issues running throughout our society, and yet the first people to get the blame is the men. I understand that the gentleman who committed a mass deletion was a man, but he had mental issues. It takes a lot of gumption to get up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go delete a bunch of people out of school. And y'all think we stupid. It's common freaking sense. Hell, one of those mass deleters, his ass was part of the rainbow community. So how do you explain that? They've been real quiet about that. They come in all shades and sizes and creeds and backgrounds and sexual orientations. They come from everywhere. Crazy people exist in our society, and we need to stop making excuses for it. And then everybody who claims they're crazy aren't crazy. Do the damn work, get them evaluated so they can properly be punished if they commit a crime. If they commit a crime and they're crazy, Yes, they deserve to be institutionalized. I'm not making fun of them. I'm not. But we got to call a spade on all this. We actually have to start taking care of people and their interests. It's funny how you remove men from the household, and the funny, the other thing that makes this amazing, hilarious to me is the amount of permeation that all the black issues have had on other communities. Everybody's getting it. I've seen Asian women who talk like black women on the internet, who deal with folks the same way. I've seen white women who've been emboldened by Keisha. And the funny thing about it is, them folks will stand behind Keisha and push up like, I bet you won't hit them, and they'll watch and see what happens. But as men walk away and they're allowed to get away with more stuff, guess what that does? It emboldens everybody else to do the same thing. So, like with the man versus bear thing, you had women of all races speaking up on it, not realizing that our society is suffering because of the lack of men in these households. And y'all turn a blind eye to these selfish, entitled, angry females who are raising the children, creating their own damn problems. I mean, what else do you say to that? But anyway, I said I was going to be on here 30 minutes. I'll catch y'all later. Hello.
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 You still at the laundromat?
Yeah, I'm about to go in here and throw the blankets in the dryer.
Did you have to wash them separate?
Well, when I stuck the first one in, the white one in, I noticed there wasn't a lot of room in it. So I went ahead and put the other one in another washer. Man, it cost $16 to wash each one of those.
What?
Crazy.
We would pay more than that at a dry cleaner, though.
Yeah.
And we took it that one time, they didn't clean it.
Yeah.